With a market cap of 4.7 billion rand, Net1 provides prepaid card-based payment system with technology in developing economies. Its primary listing is on the Nasdaq in the US, but it has contracts to provide payment solutions for social grant recipients in South Africa. The company has a price-to-earnings ratio of 10, but currently pays no dividends. Net1 UEPS, let's just start on the share price graph here. Can you give us a little commentary?
Quite an interesting story too, because to go back, this is the old Appletech, which was also called Net1. At some point along the way, they decided that they were getting no respect in the local market, so they engineered quite a novel approach where they reversed the business into a US-based listing, the idea being that those Americans are crazy about technology and prepaid and all of that sort of stuff. But the core business really is a payment and card-based payment business. Their mainstay is Cash Paymaster, which is a business which, the government uses to effect the payment of social security grants in the rural areas where people get a prepaid card with the value which they can redeem for goods and services at the stores. And as you know, there's been a whole lot of corruption allegations in that space.
The moat for this business, is it definitive? Is it strong?
Well, I mean, certainly their technology, they seem to have very unique technology in terms of using fingerprints and voice recognition. And they recently won that tender to take over the entire social grants on all of South Africa. I know it was challenged, but recently at the end of August, the courts threw out that challenge and said, no, it's legal, they must go ahead with it.
So well, there's your answer, Paul. It's legal.
There's a corollary to that, sorry to interrupt, but the judge found that in fact, the process had been irregular and illegal, but he decided that he wasn't going to suspend the contract because then people wouldn't get their pensions. But there are people, Stuart Theobald argued this in the Business Day, that say that Corrupt Foreign Practices Act will now be brought to bear by the US Justice Department, because if you've been accused, the accusation was that people from this company had paid bribes to the Social Security's agency, which is a division of the Department of Social Welfare, to actually get the contract.
But now I'm confused. At the end of the day, they said it's legal. Which
well,
Jonathan,
so was
are you right?
when you saw the announcements in the media.
Yeah, well, I mean, the judge basically threw it out. So, I mean, it can be appealed and it can be taken further. I mean,
right, but how does it affect the investment case for?
Well, I mean, certainly, I mean, this contract is very key. I mean, 2/3 of their income comes from South Africa, and it's predominantly on this social security transaction and paying out 9.2 million social grants every month. They get paid a fee of 14 Rand per social grant, so they get annuity income of about 130 million per month.
When did the legal debacle unfold? Just in terms of the share
last week or so.
Right, yeah. So we're not seeing huge movement on the share price though.
Yeah, well, and I think that's because it was the same judge from the Pretoria High Court who ruled against Esau Frankie, and in both cases there was lots of dismay at the judgment. So I think it is going to get appealed, and we'll have to wait and see what happens next. But
it sounds like a lot of Paul Theron hearsay.
Remember, this company has bought Prism some years ago, and they've got some great technology. They also own MediCredit. They own the whole Easy Pay thing, so you can go and pay your bills at the Pick and Pay store, for electricity and all that sort of stuff. So, I mean, it's got real presence here and got some good people. The question really is, how is it going to trade in America? How is it going to trade here? And what the outcome of this sort of uncertainty on a legal point of view is going to be.
Let's go to hot or not. On Net1, Jonathan, your view?
Well, I mean, the one other thing with the Social Security transaction that they're rolling out, they're having to spend a lot of money. And they're talking about spending another $50 million in the next 9 months. Now, if you look at their cash flow, they burned $50 million in the last quarter, and they've only got $40 million on their balance sheet. So I'm a little bit worried that they might run short of cash.
It might not be a good time to run short of cash, given that there's so much uncertainty in the economic environment.
And then they also talk about fundamental earnings, and it strips out all the bad things and intangible depreciation, all the rest. And that they put that at $1.50. So that's about 12 Rand. So it's about a 6.5. It's just, there's a lot of uncertainty.
So we're going with?
Not hot from me.
Paul Theron?
Also for me, Serge Bellamont, the CEO, is going to be mad at me, but also not hot for me.